Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams. Today we'll be going over the Week 6 game previews. I'll be talking starts and sits, and at the end of each game, I'll be discussing who's going to win the game against the spread, that is. Also, just a heads up, we have some teams on bye this week. The Saints, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks. So if you have any of them, please take them out of your lineup or get 0 points. Nobody wants that. Take them out. All right. So I think we should just dive right on in. All right. In this one, we have the Falcons versus the Vikings. And we're going to start with the Vikings because they're the home team. So, Minnesota. I think that Kirk Cousins is a solid play this week. Atlanta seems to not be able to stop the quarterback position, so I definitely think Kirk Cousins can get fired up this week. My only worry in this game is Atlanta possibly not keeping up, but with Julio Jones coming back, I do think this should be an interesting shootout. Next, we're going to the wide receiver position. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen can both be started in this game. I think that they should be fine plays. Adam Thielen's an absolute beast. He's a must start. And Justin Jefferson can be a solid wide receiver too. Next, running back position. As you all know, Dalvin Cook is injured, unfortunately. So, we're going to have to take him out of the lineup, but you can fire up Alexander Madison. He looks absolutely fantastic, and I think he's going to be a great play this week. Top 5 for sure. Next, we have the tight end position. Irv Smith Jr. He seems like he's getting some more touches. If you're desperate at tight end, I think that he's a solid play this week. Atlanta can't really stop anybody. Next, the Vikings defense. I'm not really trying to play them. And the kicker, I believe you can play him. Next, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan has not been playing well recently. But in the games where he had Julio Jones, he was playing pretty well. Everyone seems to forget that. The first game of the season, 450 yards and 2 touchdowns. The second game, he had 273 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was playing out of his mind. Then he lost to one of the best wide receivers in the league. It's going to happen. Look what Drew Brees has done since Michael Thomas has been out. When you lose your best receiver, sometimes you can't overcome it. Everyone's not Aaron Rodgers. So I think that you can start Matt Ryan if Julio Jones plays. I don't think that he's going to be a top 5 player or anything, but I think that he's startable with Julio. Without Julio, stay away. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Like I said, Julio's coming back. It's going to be hard to sit Julio if you have him. You've been waiting this whole time. I think that you could play him. I don't see him with the normal upside, even though this is a fantastic matchup. I'm a little worried about some re-injury, so I don't have him as a wide receiver 1. I have him more as a high-end wide receiver 2. I do think you can obviously start Calvin Ridley. I don't really want to play any of the other wide receivers. Stick to Julio and Calvin. Next, we're going to the running back position. You can definitely fire up Todd Gurley. Minnesota doesn't scare you, and Todd Gurley's been playing pretty well. Next, we have the tight end position, Hayden Hurst. I think that he is playable if you need him, but there are definitely better options out there. I'm not playing their defense, and you can play their kicker. All right, picking this game. This is actually a really difficult game for me to pick. It's kind of a toss-up, especially because Julio is back. Honestly, this is a very close game for me. So the spread is 3.5. Gotta go with the Vikings. It's only really because Julio Jones has been injured and he's coming back from a hamstring injury. There's a chance that he aggravates it, and I wouldn't want to bet on that. 3.5. I think that they can take this one. All right, I think that's gonna do it. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Panthers versus the Bears. Panthers are at home, so we're going to start with them. At the top, Teddy Bridgewater. Played fantastic last week, but the Bears are a different beast. Don't play him against the Bears. Next, we have the running back position. Christian McCaffrey is set to be able to come back this week, but I don't actually think that he's going to come back for a couple of weeks. Mike Davis is playing fantastic, so there's no real need to rush back Christian McCaffrey. And it doesn't seem like he's going to be healthy enough to play anyway. So I would expect Christian McCaffrey to still be out a couple of weeks. You can absolutely start Mike Davis. He's a beast. Wide receivers. Robbie Anderson is a for sure must start wide receiver 2. lock it in. DJ Moore is a little more iffy on this one, and the reason is he's not getting as many targets as we would have assumed he would. That being said, I still think that he is very talented. There's a lot of season left, but as of right now, he's not getting the targets that Robbie Anderson are getting. Next, we have the tight end position. No, thank you. Defense, no. Kicker, no. All right, moving on to the Chicago Bears. Nobody's starting Nick Foles. Let's be real, let's be honest. So we're going to move on to the wide receiver position. Allen Robinson is always a must start, of course, for sure. I'm not touching any of the other wide receivers until they prove it to me. Next, we have the running back position, and the Panthers are absolutely terrible against the running back. So you could definitely fire up David Montgomery. I think he's a great play this week. Next, we have the tight end position, and Jimmy Graham keeps getting it done, so I'm not going to doubt him anymore. Whether he's talented or not, he's getting it done. Fire up Jimmy Graham if you need an old tight end that can apparently still make one-arm catches. Did you see that? Fantastic. Next, we have the defense. You could play them against the Panthers for sure, and the kicker. All right, time to pick this game. Carolina, surprisingly, 2.5-point favorites. I'm going to take the Bears in this one. It's going to be a low-scoring game. The Bears are playing very, very well defensively and solid offensively, so I think that they could definitely take this one. All right, on to the next one. Up next, we have the Colts versus the Bengals. And we're going to start with the Colts because they're the home team. Phillip Rivers, we're not starting him. He has not looked very good so far, so let's keep it moving. Wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton also has not been looking great this year. He has started getting the targets, though, so if there is a Colts wide receiver you want to start, it's T.Y. Hilton, but if you don't have to, I wouldn't. He's not been performing very well. Up next, the running back position. Jonathan Taylor. I think that he's going to be a fine play this week. The Bengals don't scare me defensively against the running back. I definitely think that Jonathan Taylor is going to be a fine pick or fine play this week. Next, we have the tight end position. I'm actually not touching any of these tight ends if I don't have to. Next, you can absolutely play the defense, and you got to play the kicker. He is an absolute beast. Next, we go over to the Bengals. Joe Burrow has had a couple rough weeks in a row. I definitely think that the rest of his season is going to go better for him, but this is not a great matchup, so I would bench him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think that you could play Tyler Boyd. If you have to, you could play T. Higgins, but I really prefer not to, and I'm definitely not starting A.J. Green until I can see what he's going to do on the field that's going to be productive. Next, we have the running back position, and Joe Mixon is an absolute beast. I think that you have to play him in this matchup, even though it is a terrible matchup. He's going to be involved in the passing game. You love that. Definitely fire up Joe Mixon. Up next, we have the tight end position. No, thank you. Defense, nope. Kicker, nope. All right. Time to pick this game. The Colts are 7.5-point favorites. That's a big spread. I think the Colts are going to take this one, but 7.5 is a lot. Going back to the well with Joe Burrow, I know that he played terribly against the Bengals, and they both have very good defenses, but I think that Joe Burrow and the team can put up 17 points, and I don't think the Colts are going to outscore them by a touchdown. All right, that's going to do it. On to the next one. All right, up next, we have the Browns versus the Steelers. We're going to start off with the Steelers because they're their home team. So, Big Ben, I definitely think you can start him. He's been playing pretty well, and the Browns don't scare me. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I believe that Deontay Johnson should be out of this game. So I think that does increase the usage of Chase Claypool, but that also means that Denzel Ward, the Browns' best cornerback, is going to possibly be on Chase Claypool. So I upgrade him and then I downgrade him a little bit just because that's a tough matchup. Next, we have Juju Smith-Schuster. I definitely think you could play him. Oh, and referring back to Chase Claypool, you could play him as well as a wide receiver too. Same with Juju Smith-Schuster. Next, moving on to the running back position. You can absolutely play James Conner. He's a beast, and the Browns don't scare me. Next, we have the defense. You absolutely have to play their defense. They're fantastic. Baker Mayfield's dinged up, and Odell Beckham Jr. is not 100%, so I definitely think you can fire him up. Also, Jarvis Landry's dinged up. Everybody of relevance is banged up on this team. I'll get to more of that in a second. So you can definitely play the Steelers defense for sure. Next, we have the kicker. You can play their kicker for sure. Let's go on to the Cleveland Browns. Starting at the top, you weren't starting Baker Mayfield before. He's now injured. You're not starting him now. I think he's going to play through it because mama ain't raised no punk, according to him. I think that's what he said. So, don't play Baker Mayfield. Moving on to the wide receivers positions, I think that Odell Beckham is a wide receiver 2 at best. The Steelers defense is amazing, so definitely temper expectations. And I'm not trying to start Jarvis Landry. I do like Jarvis Landry, but I don't think that you can start him in this matchup. He hasn't been playing well. He's dinged up, and he's going against the Steelers. Hard pass. Next is going to the running back position. I think the only person that you can look at in this backfield right now is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's dinged up, but I do think that you should start and play him because he will play. That being said, the Steelers defense is absolutely amazing, so I think that he might have to get some of his work done in the air and not on the ground. Next, we have Austin Hooper. He's been playing pretty well for the Browns. I actually definitely think you can start him as a low-end tight end 1, high-end tight end 2. The Steelers are very good against all positions pretty much, but I think the 10 targets we saw from last week from Austin Hooper is showing the change in the guard. They're going to try to get him more involved. Next, we have the defense. No, thank you. Kicker. No, thank you. All right. This game is -3.5. Steelers. I'm going to have to take the Steelers on this one. I think that defense is going to do work, and I feel like the entire Browns offense is banged up. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt, they're all dealing with some sort of issue, illness, injury, something. Steelers defense, nothing to play with. So I definitely think they can get that. All right, I think that's going to do it. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going to be talking about the Broncos versus the Patriots. So let's get it started with the Patriots because they're the home team. Cam is off the COVID list and back in practice. I'm loving it. If Cam starts, you start him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Julian Edelman is a flex play at best. Other than that, I'm not touching anybody. Next, we have the running back position. All these guys are kind of meh because once you get close to the end zone, it's going to be Cam Newton. So if I had to pick one, James White, I think, is a viable flex play. Other than that, everybody else is low-end flex plays with upside because anything is possible. But Denver is actually really good against the run, so I'm not trying to play any of them. Next, we have the tight end position. No, thank you. Defense, absolutely. You should definitely play the defense against the Broncos because Drew Lock is back, but he's still not great. And the Broncos are pretty dinged up anyways. Next, we have the kicker. You definitely start their kicker. All right, let's move on to the Broncos. Drew Lock is back. Yay! And you're not playing him against the Patriots. It's not like you were playing him anyways. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I would prefer not to play either of these players, but Jerry Jeudy could have an okay game, and I think that Tim Patrick could also have a solid game, but I think that they're low-end flex plays at best with upside, assuming that the Broncos get down by a lot and need to come back and throw the ball, and the Patriots are playing prevent defense. Next, we have the running back position, and this one gets interesting in a bad way. It's official. Melvin Gordon will not be traveling with the team. Apparently, it's due to some sort of illness he has. I think they're being precautious because of COVID-19. But nonetheless, he's going to be out, so that brings in Phillip Lindsay, and he should get more opportunities. But like I said, Royce Freeman's going to be involved. I think that you can play Phillip Lindsay as a flex play. The Patriots are also very good against the run, so it's not like he's going to come in there and dominate. Also, everybody thinks that he's going to get the whole load. I'm thinking Royce Freeman is going to be more involved than people are assuming, so I'm not excited about Phillip Lindsay, but I do think that he is playable because running backs are going down left and right, and we have 4 teams on a bye. Next, we have the tight end position. Noah Fant is 50-50 whether or not he's going to play this week, and if he does play, it's a terrible matchup. I don't know if you have another option, but if you do, I'd probably go with that just because the iffiness of how healthy he is on top of the fact that this is a terrible matchup, it's not a good look. All right, next we have the defense, no thank you, and the kicker, no thank you. All right, so now we got to pick this game. This is an 8.5 point spread, Patriots way. Oh, that's a lot of points, but I think Cam's first game back, he's going to be firing on all cylinders, and considering the injuries and the defense of the Patriots, I definitely think that this defense can get it done. Look for a couple picks in this game. All right, that's going to do it. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Lions versus the Jaguars. We're going to start off with those Jaguars because they're at home. Gardner Minshew is a solid start at quarterback this week. I think that he's going to be fine. He's been hovering around 13 every week. I think that's a solid streamer. So I think he can be played this week. It makes it a little more interesting if DJ Chark doesn't play this week, though. I would sing his name, but him being iffy and possibly not playing, I want to save that for when he's DJ Chark do. But when one man goes down, next man up. Laviska Shenault Jr. should step up into that #1 role. And I definitely think that he is playable this week for sure as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end flex play. I think Keelan Cole can also be played if you need a flex play. If DJ Chark is out, that is. Next, we have the running back position. I think you start James Washington. I'm not scared of the Lions' run defense. I'm not starting their tight end, and I'm not trying to start their defense or their kicker. Next, let's go to the Lions. Off of a bye, you like that? The guys are going to be refreshed. Matthew Stafford, I think, is going to have a solid game. You can definitely play him. I have him as a I have him as a quarterback 1 this week. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think that you can definitely play Kenny Golladay. You got to play him. Marvin Jones could always possibly have a blow-up game. That's always in his arsenal. But I don't think that this is going to be the week. Sidney Jones is going to be guarding him from the Jaguars, and he has been playing fantastic. So I actually think I want to limit Marvin Jones' upside. If you do play him, he could always get into the end zone because he's a beast, but he does have a tough matchup, and he hasn't been playing well, so keep that in mind. Let's move on to the running back position. We have DeAndre Swift and Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is dealing with some issues, but I think that he should be able to play, and if he does play, I think that hurts Swift a little bit. I think they're both flex plays at best. Next, with the tight end position, TJ Hawkinson, I think you can fire him up. And I don't think you should play their defense, but you can play the kicker. All right, time to pick this game. It's a 3.5-point spread for the Lions, and I'm going to have to take that 3.5-point spread. I think Matthew Stafford's going to come out here firing, and they should get the dub. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Titans and the Texans. And we're going to start with the Titans because they're the home team. I can think you can start a lot of players on this team. So you're starting Ryan Tannehill because he's one of the more underrated players in the NFL. He's been playing well for a couple of years now. He gets it done on the ground a little bit, and he's been throwing touchdowns. I think you can fire him up. A.J. Brown, you can play. Running back, Derrick Henry. Tight end, Jonnu Smith. And I'm not trying to play their defense because I do think that Houston's pretty solid, but I think you can definitely play their kicker as well. They've been playing very well. The Titans have been doing work. All right, moving on to the Texans. You can start Deshaun Watson for sure. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Will Fuller is a wide receiver 2, and Brandon Cooks is a solid flex play with upside. Next, we have the running back position. Fire up David Johnson for sure. Tight end, I think that you could play Darren Fells, but it'd be like a meh play. But if you're desperate, he's playable. Next, we have the defense. No thank you. Kicker. Sure, why not? All right, time to pick this game. 5.5-point favorites to the Titans. I think that that's a little too high for me. 5.5 is a solid amount of points. I think that the Texans can keep this game close. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Washington football team versus the New York Giants. And we're going to start with the Giants because they're the home team. Starting at the top, Daniel Jones is not startable. He has not had a good start to the year, but we predicted this. He was not going to have a good start. His schedule was absolutely terrible, not playable, but it's going to lighten up, and I think that over time he's going to get a lot better. Hopefully he fixes the turnovers, but I think that the turnovers are probably going to stay, and he's just going to be throwing more yards and more touchdowns. But in this matchup, I'm not trying to pay him until I see it. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think that you can start Darius Slayton as a flex play, and I think that if you're desperate, you can start Golden Tate. Next, we have the running back position. Devontae Freeman is here, baby, taking over the starting role. I think that you can start him as well as a running back 2 high-end flex play. Next, we have the tight end, Evan Ingram. I think that he gets more involved in this matchup, so fire him up as well. This may be the first time I get to say this, or last time, that is. You can start the Giants defense against Washington, right? You can start the Giants defense. Not bad. I think that there's going to be a lot of turnovers in this game. This should be very interesting. Next, we have the kicker, and I'm still not trying to start him. Next, we have the Washington football team. Haskins got benched a couple weeks ago, so Kyle Allen's in there as the starter. I know he got dinged up last week, but he's going to play for sure, so he'll be the starter for this team, and that means that we don't care about the quarterback anymore. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Terry McLaurin is the only wide receiver of note on this team, but the problem is he's going to be shadowed by James Bradberry. He is, if you don't know him, he is an absolutely fantastic cornerback. So you definitely got to downgrade him a bit. I think that he's still playable, but man, it could be a rough day for him. Next, we have the running back position. I'm going to start at the top. We got Antonio Gibson, who I actually really like in this game. I think he should have a fine matchup as a running back too. J.D. McKissick, if you're desperate, you could have him as a flex play. He should get a couple receptions. You don't want to start their tight end. You can actually start their defense, which is kind of crazy, but you can start their defense against the Giants. Daniel Jones loves to turn the ball over, and I wouldn't start their kicker. So this is a 2.5 point spread for the Giants. I'm going to take those Giants, actually. I just think that this offense is better than Washington's offense. So I think they should be able to get it done. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Ravens versus the Eagles. And we're going to start with the Eagles because they're the home team. Carson Wentz has not been playing great, and he's going against an amazing defense, so we're not playing him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson are both going to be out in this game. If you're desperate, you could start Travis Fulgham. He had a fantastic week last week, and he got a touchdown the week before. He's a great prospect, but this is a terrible, terrible matchup. So if you're desperate and you have nobody else, I definitely think he gets the volume, so you could probably fire him up as a low-end flex play. Next, we have the running back position. You got to start Miles Sanders, even though this is a terrible matchup. Tight end, if you could not start Zach Ertz, I wouldn't. He's playing terribly. And this is not a good matchup either. I'm going to pass on Zach Ertz if you can, but sometimes you're forced to play him, so I understand. Next, we have the defense. Nope. Kicker. Nope. All right, Baltimore. Lamar Jackson has not been playing as well as you expect, especially drafting him in the second, third round, which I told you not to do. But, you know, I definitely think he's playable. He's going to have his up games and his meh games, but I definitely think he's still extremely talented, and throughout the year, he should be playing better. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and Marquise Brown had a solid game last week, but I don't actually see this week going like last week. I don't like him being shadowed by Darius Slay. Darius Slay is a very, very good cornerback, and I'm not trying to test it. I think that Marquise Brown or Hollywood is going to be a flex play at best this week. Next, we're going to the running back position. Again, this is all up in the air. You don't know which running back to start from week to week. I'm actually not trying to start any of them if I don't have to. Hard pass. Next, we have the defense. Next, we have the tight end position. I definitely think you start Mark Andrews. He's a must start every week. After that, we have the defense. Fire them up. Great matchup against Carson Wentz. Next, we have the kicker. Justin Tucker starts for me every week. All right. The spread for this game is 7.5, and I'm going to have to take the Ravens for that 7.5. I definitely think that the defense is going to do work in this game, and Lamar Jackson is going to be pretty solid. On to the next one. All right, up next, we have the Dolphins versus the Jets. The Miami Dolphins are at home, so we're going to start there. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been on fire recently. You absolutely can start him. He is a beast, and the Jets don't scare me. I've got the magic in me. Up next, the wide receiver position. You could definitely play Devontae Parker. He's a wide receiver too. I also think you can play Preston Williams as a flex play if you need him. Up next, we have the running back position. Fire up Myles Gaskin. He's been playing really well. Again, the Jets don't scare me. They've been terrible against the running back. Next, we have the tight end position. Mike Gesicki. I definitely think you can start him as well. Didn't think we'd be starting this many Miami Dolphins at the beginning of the year, but they've been looking pretty good. I'm I'm proud of them. Also, Miami's defense will be pretty solid against the Jets. And, I mean, for good measure, you could play the kicker, but I'm probably not trying to play the kicker. There's probably better kickers out there. All right, next, the Jets. This one's going to be quick. Sam Darnold's out. Joe Flacco's there. No thank you. The only person on this team that I'm really actually trying to start, Jamison Crowder. He's been playing absolutely fantastic, and I don't think that stops. Other than that, I'm not touching anybody else on this team. That being said, this is an 8.5-point spread. That's a huge spread for Miami. And I'm actually thinking about taking it because the Jets suck. But 8.5 is a lot of points. So I guess I gotta go Jets. Super weird, but you know, 8.5 is 8.5. I think that the Jets can score maybe twice, maybe get a field goal. But Miami, I think, is going to have a solid game. This is a toss-up, so. All right, on to the next one. Up next, we got the Packers versus the Bucks. All right, we're going to start off with the Bucks because they're the home team. Tom Brady, definitely think you can fire him up this week. This should be a shootout. Next, we have the wide receivers. Mike Evans plays, you play him. Chris Godwin plays, you play him. They're both great elite wide receivers. I definitely think they're worth being played. Scotty Miller, get out of here. You're getting a 0 last week. Can't believe you did that to us. Anyways, so you really just weren't targeted that much. You're not a terrible wide receiver. It's just you weren't getting the targets and other people were stepping up. Anyways, next we have the running back position. Fire up Ronald Jones. Everybody else push to the side until we see any activity from them. Next, we have the tight end position. I prefer not to start any of them. Love Rob Gronkowski as a player, but he's going to be better for the Buccaneers than he is for your fantasy team, so sit him on the bench. Next, we have the defense. No thank you. Kicker, no thank you. All right, moving on to the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron, fire him up. He's going to be great. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and thank goodness, I am so happy to have Devontae Adams back. Oh, my lineup needed him a lot. So I'm happy to have him back. Fire him up. He's going to be great. MVS, I'm not trying to start him if you don't have to. By the way, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, for those who do not know, don't play him if you don't have to. Next, we have the running back position. Aaron Jones is a beast. Fire him up. Tight ends, Robert Tonyan. Yes, absolutely play him every week until he shows that he's not going to be great. Next, we have the defense. No, thank you. Kicker, yes, you can start Mason Crosby. All right, this is a 1.5-point spread. This should be a close one. Nice back and forth affair. I'm going to be taking Green Bay in this one. Green Bay's been playing absolutely amazing. It's hard to pick against Aaron Rodgers. I don't tend to pick against Tom Brady, but Aaron Rodgers is a beast, and I think they get it done in this one, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, obviously. Want my Bucs to win every week, but Green Bay's a fantastic football team. Sounds good. On to the next one. Up next, we have the 49ers versus the Rams. 49ers are home, so let's start with them. Starting at the top, Jimmy GQ himself got benched kind of last week. That was not good. I think he's going to start in this one as well, but this is not a good matchup. Do not play him. Next, we have the running back position. Jerick McKinnon, push him to the flex because he's not going to be as involved now that Raheem Mostert's back. Running back 2, baby, fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and the only one that I would even think about is Deebo Samuel, and yes, he's on the field more, which is great. Yes, he's being targeted more, which is great. I haven't seen them put it together yet, and on top of that, it's a terrible matchup. Jalen Ramsey should be covering him. I don't think that Jalen Ramsey's going to shadow him because I don't believe he's doing that as much this year, but still, Jalen Ramsey's a beast, so as long as he's on him, it's going to be a tough day. Next, we have the tight end. Fire up George Kittle. Of course, he's a beast every single week, and I think you can play the defense, and you can play the kicker if you want. Prefer not the kicker, but definitely the defense. All right, next we're going off to the Rams. Starting at the top, Jared Goff. I prefer not to play Jared Goff. This isn't the best matchup, but worst comes to worst, he could be okay. Probably get you around 17 points. Next, we have the wide receiver position. You're firing up Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Those are must-starts every week. Next, we're going to the running back position. This is where it gets a little murky. I do believe Cam Akers gets more involved this week, but I think that Darrell Henderson should be a low-end running back too still, at least for now. Next, we have the tight end position. I don't want to start either of the tight ends, Higbee or Everett. They both seem like they're sharing the workload. Everett's week was last week. I'm not trying to play with that. Next, the defense. You could definitely start the Rams defense for sure. And the kicker. All right, time to pick this game. It's a 3.5-point spread for the Rams. Give me that. Yeah, Rams are winning this for sure. 3.5 points, I'll take that. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Cowboys versus the Cardinals. We're going to start with those Cowboys because they're the home team. Starting at the top, like we said earlier, Dak Prescott's going to be done for the year. Coming in, Andy Dalton. I actually think Andy Dalton is a great fit for this offense. He's a veteran. He's been playing in the league for a while. He's not going to get rattled by small things like some sort of rookie. So I think that Andy Dalton actually could have a very good game. I think you could start him. I don't have him as a top 12 play, but if he ended there, wouldn't surprise me. They're going to have to throw to keep up with Arizona because the Cowboys defense is terrible. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position. Amari Cooper must start. CeeDee Lamb must start. Michael Gallup, flex at best. I want to see it before I start him more. But I did like the looks that he was getting from Andy Dalton, to be fair. That being said, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb both don't have great matchups. Patrick Peterson is going to be most likely on Amari Cooper. And Brian Murphy should be on CeeDee Lamb. But I think that they're both talented enough to get it done. And Andy Dalton's going to go to his best receivers. Next, we have the running back position. Of course, you're starting Zeke. He's a beast. Ezekiel Elliott is in your lineup every week. Next, we have the tight end position. I think you can start Dalton Schultz, but I am curious to see how Andy Dalton uses his tight end. Next, we are going to go to the defense. Hard pass, no thank you, and kicker. You can start their kicker. They're going to get down the field for sure. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is a must start every week. He's a beast. DeAndre Hopkins is a must-start every week. He's a beast. But Christian Kirk, I actually think that you can start him in your flex play if you need somebody. So that's not bad. Next, we have the running back position. And Kenyon Drake is not as advertised. I was not big on him in the offseason, and looks like it was a good idea because Chase Edmonds seems like he's cutting into the work. Not on the ground so much. Chase Edmonds is more of a pass-catching running back, but he is getting a lot of catches. So if you need a flex play, I actually think that you can play Chase Edmonds if you need him. All right, next, we have the tight end position. I'm not starting one of those, not starting the defense, and not starting the kicker. All right, time to pick this game. The Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites. I was slightly surprised about that. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I think everybody's sleeping on Andy Dalton. I have Andy Dalton coming in and having a pretty good game, actually. So, fire him up. All right, y'all, on to the next one. And last but not least, the Chiefs versus the Bills. I cannot wait for this game. Oh, this is going to be so exciting. All right, we're going to start off with the Bills because they're the home team. Before I start, both of these teams are coming off of a loss, and both of these teams are 4-1. They're absolutely fantastic. This should be a shootout. I'm so excited for this game. This is going to be a good one. One of the best ones of the week, which is why it's last. Save your best for last. All right, let's start off with those Bills because they're the home team. Josh Allen, you firing him up. Stephon Diggs, you're going to play him. Now, the Chiefs' defense against the wide receiver is actually pretty solid. But I still think, of course, you start Stephon Diggs. But John Brown and Cole Beasley, I'm a little iffy on those, whether or not you want to start them. Flex plays at best, but I would prefer not to start them if you have someone better. Next, running back position. Devin Singletary, I'm not too big on this week. He didn't play great last week, and I just don't see him as a running back 1, running back 2. There's a chance he sneaks into that running back 2 territory, but got to check on the health of Zach Moss, and when he gets in close, I don't think they're going to give it to him. Next, we have the tight end position. No thank you. Defense, I'm not trying to play the Bills defense against the Chiefs. Yeah, right. And kicker, sure, why not? Next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Before I get into the players, Le'Veon Bell just got signed by the Chiefs, but they are not going to have him this week. So this is still Clyde Edwards-Helaire's backfield. So keep that in mind when you're starting your lineups. All right, so starting at the top. Everybody's starting Patrick Mahomes. He's a beast. You start Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though he's not been playing as elite as we would have expected. I still think you fire him up. This is a good matchup. Next, we have Tyreek Hill. You can play him for sure. And if you need somebody else, Mecole Hardman could be pretty solid in this one. This should be a back-and-forth shootout. Next, we have the tight end position. Travis Kelce gets started every week. You can play the Chiefs defense as well. I think that's a solid matchup. And you're always playing the kicker, even though he's been missing a couple. But you're playing him. All right. Time to pick this game. It is a 3.5-point spread. Give me those Chiefs. Are you kidding me? Yes. The Chiefs are winning this, and they're going to win it handily because the Chiefs are fantastic. And they're coming out with a vengeance after getting embarrassed by the Oakland Raiders. Oh, Patrick Mahomes is coming out and putting on a show, baby. That's going to do it for this matchup and the game previews. Let me know if you have any questions, what I get right, what I get wrong. Good luck, Bay Nation. Peace.